weddings.
If I was the Birdman, I would send that, because all he's doing is pointing out something that's happening on the screen. But I also hate weddings, not just in movies, just in general I hate weddings. So...
And you never walk away from the table when you're on a heater.
You do if you're getting married.
Dude, we have all the context we need to know that this is a bride waiting on her groom, so this expositional bickering isn't accomplishing anything, except for making me look at Jeffrey Tambor wearing like 3 shirts and no pants.
It's almost as if that line isn't exposition and is a perfectly natural thing to say.
Also, wearing your watch on the inside of your wrist. The is that, man? Who are you trying to impress? Are you trying to disrupt the concept of telling time or some bull?
Wearing your watch on the inside of your wrist is something that people do. And maybe he's not even wearing it on the inside of his wrist. Maybe the watch is just so loose that it just turned around to the bottom of his wrist.
We're getting married in 5 hours.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Seriously, who the schedules the bachelor party for essentially the night before the wedding anymore? That is some freshman rookie level bull. And Phil's married, so he should know better.
Yes, what a terrible idea to schedule your bachelor party the night before the wedding. If only they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They didn't do that.
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Except ironically, the movie What Happens in Vegas. That's an example of that should have stayed there and didn't.
For every time Jeremy makes a meaningless pop culture reference and then adds a sin to the sin counter, I am constantly reminded how I don't feel like making a catchphrase for this.
I'm not supposed to be within 200 feet of a school.
What?
Or Chuck E. Cheese.
Haha, and Alan is a sex offender. I can't wait to root for these characters when they get in deep during their fun Vegas trip. They seem like really awesome people who deserve the best.
We actually have no idea how he got this restraining order, so we shouldn't immediately jump to he's probably a sex offender. And yes, I know in the commentary they say that Alan was feeding a kid some nuts. That sounds bad out of context, but I swear he meant like the non-sexual way. But like I said in the video on Saw 2, I don't rely on information from commentaries.
Oh crap.
You know, a way to improve the whole pop culture reference problem with CinemaSins is just, whenever Jeremy makes a joke like this, just don't add a sin. I know this might get repetitive with me pointing them out over and over again, but I promise there's not as many of those in this video.
I know they're going to Vegas, but do open container laws not apply here?
No, according to ACM SFR.
Dr. Price? Stu, you're a dentist.
Phil and Stu are pretty good buddies, for some reason. So how has this not come up in conversation before?
It probably has. This is just the first time we're seeing it. Ella Banana says this bulge is fake, and she's right.
First off, what is taking Stu so long to get ready? Sure, he's talking to Karen or whatever her name is, but he also just got out of the shower. Second off, what kind of friends are these that walk into your bedroom unannounced while you're getting dressed? If anyone should be giving attitude, it should be Stu.
Have you ever had friends before? This happens. Also, it's in character for Phil to not respect minor things like privacy.
She beats him. That was twice, and I was out of line.
I swear to God, I'm getting sick of the crass and clueless that passes for humor in this movie, so I'm gonna add 20 cents here to cover it. Doesn't mean I definitely won't go to this well again, but I think 20 covers us so far.
That wasn't a joke. I know this is nitpicky, but CinemaSins in itself is nitpicky, so I'm allowed to be nitpicky of the channel that in itself is nitpicky.
He's in denial. Not to mention she f***ed a sailor.
Hey, he wasn't a sailor. He was a bartender on a cruise ship, you know that.
Yeah, didn't you guys just talk about this? You guys are acting like there wasn't a whole scene in a gas station just before the Kanye West and T.I. Rihanna songs transported us to Vegas. We get it. Stu's girlfriend is awful.
Well, Phil is reminding Stu of that, because a new piece of information has just showed up. Stu is going to propose to his awful girlfriend. You know, that plot point that you conveniently cut out of this scene.
I have something to show you.
Uh-oh.
What the hell is that?
What do you think it is?
Oh, wow.
Well, if it's what I think it is, I think it's a big fucking mistake.
Guys, I'm standing right here so I can hear everything that you're saying.
Phil just blatantly said this to you at the gas station 6 minutes ago.
You just seen this. And the clip you played isn't even them talking about it.
Look at the view up here.
Okay, look, it's nice and all, but didn't they have a very similar view from their villa just a few floors down? I'm not saying it's not cool, I'm just saying this is a total overreaction.
Well, there's a difference between a view from a window and an entire 360 view outside.
Cheers.
Chin chin.
Jägermeister.
What?
Hey, bro, you mind putting on some pants? I find it a little weird I have to ask twice.
Of all the that's going on right now, this is what Phil finds a little weird.
He probably does find those things weird, but this is also weird. He's not saying that Alan not wearing pants is the only weird thing in the room.
Hey, Phil, am I missing a tooth?
You'd think years of being a dentist and sticking your tongue in the place where your tooth should be would be enough confirmation, but I guess this maxes out the comic tension for your audience.
He's hungover. He's not nearly as good at concentrating in that moment.
Is that the mattress from Doug's room?
Alan can spot that particular mattress from this far away. Sure, it's possible he put two and two together since the mattress was missing from his bedroom, but does anything about this character make you think he would?
Alan doesn't have the intelligence of Knuckles. He's familiar with the concept of 2 and 2.
This little chapel, you know where that is?
I do. It's at the corner of Get a Map and Off.
Dr. Veep is clearly a terrible physician, but he'd be excellent at CinemaSins.
I'm a school teacher. I got a family, okay? I'm all for secrecy, but I'm not going to torch a cop car.
When did Phil become a model of stability after he's been talking everyone into breaking the law from the beginning of this trip? Torching a cop car is the line that he can't cross because he's a school teacher?
Okay, there is a clear difference between what Stu did and destroying a cop car.
When questioning your subject, it's best to start with the pronoun game to maximize the confusion and thus knock him off his game.
If Phil answered, "Who are you talking about?" the other guy would probably answer something along the lines of, "Don't play dumb, you know what I'm talking about." He's not saying the name here because he's certain that the Wolfpack knows who he's talking about. Jeremy, as somebody who probably has a mother, unless you, just were born one day by crawling out of a sewer or being spat out by a combat wombat, your mother has probably said something similar to you.
We call this place Loserville.
The are these kids even doing here? Can't be a school trip because Phil clearly said
The weekend, bud, Nick.
when he left yesterday. So these kids are just volunteering en masse to come to tour the police station on a Saturday?
You've never heard of weekend school trips, have you?
You want to stay an extra night? But the wedding's tomorrow.
I guess Tracy is the most complex female character in this movie, but all she does is mildly question the idea of her fiancé staying in Las Goddamn Vegas until the morning of their f***ing wedding day. Girl power!
Jeremy literally plays the scene that contradicts the scene he made earlier. Hang on a second.
We're getting married in 5 hours.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Seriously, who the schedules the bachelor party for essentially the night before the wedding anymore? That is some freshman rookie level bull. And Phil's married, so he should know better.
That is hilarious.
Of all the unsolved mysteries, I'd like to know who was screwing in this car last night. And they go to great pains to show that Mr. Chow is not well endowed. So who filled this magnum up?
It was probably Stu and Jade.
You gonna on me? Nobody's gonna on you!
Jesus. I gotta be honest and say this is the funniest movie I ever hated.
I agree. Also, if that sin sounds familiar, that's because...
This is a great shot. This whole movie is full of great shots. Great acting, great set design. It's one of the most well-made movies I ever hated.
Last night on the roof, before we went out, I slipped something in our Jägermeister.
I know it's hard for Alan to admit this, but if he were going to, it would have been well before now.
I think it's more likely that he's now realizing that's the cause of this. He wasn't hiding it from the others up until now. I mean, he was, but he didn't think it was relevant. After all, he thought it was ecstasy.
Also, of all the Alan's been hit with today, this deserves the biggest he survives this.
I know Mike Tyson isn't known to be the world's most ethical person, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't kill some random guy who peed in his pool. Or I just have way too much faith in him.
Damn, this bus driver's committed to getting to the next stop on time. He also knows his supervisor would never believe he was hit by a driver of a vintage Mercedes being attacked by a tiger. Why, that would sound as absurd as having your clearance sign stolen by a group of street toughs that went on to assault you in an alley.
He might have stopped after they exited the tunnel. There's not really anywhere to pull over in there. Saucy says that you would not be able to survive this, and she's probably right.
Also, are we supposed to believe there was this big collision in the middle of Las Vegas and no cops came to check it out?
A cop probably did check it out, but the cops actually have to be alerted that something is happening before they show up. And this scene takes place in real time and lasts about 4 minutes. The police take a little longer than that to show up.
I understand they're relieved, and there is a bag over his head, but even disregarding clothing, Mike Epps is 6 foot motherfucking 2, and Justin Bartha is 5'8". That is definitely enough of a difference to notice that this ain't the right guy.
They're probably so relieved to see their friend that they're not even thinking about the fact that he's not the same height. Also, they're from a distance, so they can't really get an exact measurement.
You remember when we saw Doug's mattress impaled on that statue?
Yeah, it's because we threw it out the window.
No, impossible. You can't open windows in Vegas hotels.
Stu lays out the whole reason why Doug is probably on the roof. The kind of reasoning that surely would have hit Caesar's staff as they pried the mattress off the statue. Can't open windows in a Vegas hotel room. Somebody would have had to have been like, did he throw it off the roof? And someone would have checked the roof. And even if they didn't want to check the roof because of that, surely someone went to the roof in the last 24 goddamn hours.
While I do agree that it seems like a bit of a stretch that not a single person went to the roof within the last 24 hours, another possible way somebody could get their bed thrown out of their apartment is through the balcony. Lots of apartments have balconies.
Listen, Jade,
Not wanting to be married to Heather Graham anymore. Holy shit, talk about a hooker with a heart of solid gold. This poor woman's been married, then abandoned, then used for a blackjack ruse, abandoned again, and was implicitly asked for the wedding ring back. And she's cool with all that.
Jocelyn13 has pointed out that Jade is an escort and probably has had nights like this before, so she wouldn't be like, you said you loved me.
Can you forgive me?
Husband and wife.
She does. She does.
Well, every bad thing that happened in this film wasn't Doug's fault. It happened out of his control, so it's more easy to forgive than you'd think. If anything, you should really be sinning the fact that Alan never gets reprimanded by anyone for being the cause of this movie's conflict. In fact, I'm going to add a missed sin for that.
I think I'd normally give a sin-off for the Dan band because they're hilarious, but geez, we saw this in Old School, and that's always going to be the appearance we love. But mainly, why would anybody hire this band for their wedding? Especially someone like Tracy, who seems to be one of the saner characters in this movie.
Because it's the only levity you can get at a wedding. Jeremy, as a fellow wedding hater,
Since you that waiter on your cruise last June, boom!
Told me it was a bartender.
Oh, you're right.
This has been hashed and rehashed 4 times in this movie, and every time, Stu's had to correct people on this matter, so I find it hard to believe he didn't remember bartender when it's probably been on his mind for a full year.
well, this is a way of showing the audience that Stu is no longer defending his wife. The other times we were told about this event, Phil is the one who gets it wrong. We are told by Phil that Stu's girlfriend simply cheated on him with a sailor, when Stu, or Doug, usually corrects him and says that it was a bartender on a cruise ship.
Oh, so you can't go to Vegas, but she can fuck a bellhop on a Carnival cruise line.
Hey. Okay, first of all, he was a bartender. And she was wasted. And if you must know, he didn't even come inside her.
And you believe that?
Yeah, I do believe that because she's grossed out by semen.
Not to mention she fucked a sailor.
Hey, he wasn't a sailor. He was a bartender on a cruise ship, you know that.
But here, showing us that Stu is now the one who thinks it's a sailor, not a bartender, is a way of showing the audience that Stu no longer respects his wife and no longer trusts him. It's a way of showing the arc he goes through in this film of learning to leave his terrible girlfriend, who I might have referred to as wife multiple times when I said that, but I made my point clear.
Here's the problem with how awesome these stills from the credits are. They would be such a better movie.
I am certain that if the movie was this, and it ended with them getting hungover and then being like, where's Doug? You would say that that would have been the better movie. You know how I know that? Because I'm familiar with CinemaSins. And for those who aren't,
Trust me.
if you're wondering why the last sins are quieter than usual, there's like a game going on in the other room that 2 people are watching, and I'm just trying to record quietly, as it were, or at least make it so that you can't hear them in the background noise and people will be like, I can hear 2 people yelling in the background, what are you doing?
Then there's no evidence of how they ended up at Mike Tyson's place. They were on top of the roof at Caesars, then, like magic, they were at his house.
The camera did not capture everything. Keith has pointed out that Alan would be totally wrecked by this tiger. Immediately after the photo was taken, Alan should be dead.
Make a hole with a gun perpendicular to the name of this town in a desktop globe. Exit wound in a farm.